The Federalist Party could have taken great advantage of this situation with France in a political sense, because the Republicans were the closest allies to the French. Remember, when I say Republicans, I'm not talking about the modern Republican Party. I'm talking about these Democratic Republicans, Jeffersonian Republicans, whatever you want to use. But please do not confuse them with the Republican Party that we know of today. But nonetheless, the Federalists are going to try and use this crisis in order to make political gains on it. They're going to try to muzzle the Republicans from criticizing the government, and to also try to associate them with the enemy. This would be like, for example, the Democrats trying to associate the Republicans with being the supporters of ISIS or Al Qaeda. But nonetheless, in the summer of 1798, the Federalists are going to try to basically silence and destroy their opponents by two acts, and they're actually it's a collection of four, but they're under the auspices of two acts known as the Alien and Sedition Acts. And basically what the Alien Sedition Acts are going to do is going to say that anybody who wants to become a U.S. citizen that's not already, the naturalization process is going to not take just 5 years. It's going to take 14. They're almost triple the years that it's going to take to naturalize an immigrant. This is, one reason why they're going to try to do this is to delay the vote for the Republicans, because the fact that a lot of immigrants are coming over, they're becoming citizens, and they're voting for the Republican Party. What better way than to deprive them of the right to vote by denying them citizenship rights? So that's what the Alien Acts are going to do. It's also going to allow the President of the United States to deport any enemy alien that he deems dangerous to national security. The Sedition Act is going to make it a federal crime to engage in conspiracy against the government or to write, print, or say anything critical of the government. Now, I've looked up my Constitution. I looked at the Bill of Rights. That kind of flies in the face of the First Amendment. Press, speech, and all that. But nonetheless, what we're going to see is that when this act comes into power, we're going to see a person actually get thrown in jail. In fact, he's going. A newspaper editor that basically writes that John Adams deserves to have a cannonball fired up his ass. That's almost direct quoting, and so he was thrown into jail. The only known violator of the Sedition Act. But the Republicans aren't just going to take this. They're going to have to respond, and so they're going to respond in what's known as the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions. Thomas Jefferson is going to famously go to the Kentucky legislature, and they are going to adopt the Kentucky Resolution. And what does this create? What does this do? It puts forward the radical states' rights notion of nullification. Washington wanted to use the word nullification, but instead it's going to, the document itself will say interposition. And basically what it's going to say is that a state has the right to declare a federal law unconstitutional within its borders. That's nullification. It's kind of like states judicial review. We haven't talked about judicial review because it hasn't been established as a legal precedent yet. But nonetheless, this would be state-level judicial review. And this is going to be, we can call it nullification, or we can call it interposition. It means exactly the same thing. James Madison, however, is going to go to Virginia, and he's going to have the Virginia legislature pass a resolution talking about the state compact theory. This is a very fancy way of calling it basically saying it's secession. What does it mean? The state compact theory of union is that the union is little more than the voluntary agreement of all of these states put together. They come together and they are going to coexist. But when you voluntarily join something, it means that you can voluntarily leave it. For example, if I were to join the gym, no one's forcing me to go into the gym, so I voluntarily join it. That means I can voluntarily leave it at any time. And so we have this theory called state compact theory of union. It's just basically a euphemism for secession. It means that the ability of a state to leave the union whenever it wants. And both of these policies, both of these states' rights are going to be tried, and they're both going to fail. Nullification we'll see in the 1830s, and then of course secession we'll see in the 1860s. But nonetheless, all of these laws, I forgot to mention that the Alien Sedition Acts, when they all had expiration dates, and they expired on Inauguration Day 1801. Why is this? Well, it's probably because the fact that, God forbid a Democratic Republican wins the election of 1800, then the Federalist Party can go and criticize the government without fear of any reprisal, without fear of any sort of prison sentence.